And tonight we honor our human right as outlined in the Universal Declaration of Human Rights, to owe a living wage job, to education, to housing and healthcare, and others that Tammy's going to dig into a little bit more about each one of the rights in a few minutes. But I want to talk about the evolution in this country of the Universal Declaration of Human Rights and our choice politically to not uphold them in this country. After World War II, the UN commissioned a committee around human rights after the atrocities of World War II. And Eleanor Roosevelt headed that committee. Unfortunately, the political will was that at that time, if we ever truly implemented, as other countries did after this time, England and Germany and France and other countries, our economic system built on things like Jim Crow would crumble. We did not ever implement and uphold these human rights in the United States. As we jump forward in the 70s, the Universal Declaration of Human Rights, adopted by the General Assembly of the United Nations, then developed covenants that more deeply dug into what are these human rights and what do they mean. And a covenant that we focus on in this country is the Covenant on Social, Economic, and Cultural Rights. There's another covenant for civil and political, and our country President Carter signed that, and our country ratified it, which means it becomes part of our legal system for civil and political. For economic, social, and cultural, this was signed by President Carter, but never ratified. It's not part of our legal system. It's not part of our rights. It's gone through every presidency to the current that have never upheld this right in our country. And what does that mean? That means that we must earn our very substance we need to live, our food, our water and air, our fight for water that comes out of Michigan and the national welfare rights in Michigan, our fight for housing in the National Union of the Homeless, our fight for health and health care in both United Workers, which we'll speak tonight, and the Nonviolent Medicaid Army. You'll hear from them as well on the right to health and health care. Health is encompassing of all of this. The right to health care is because there's an attack on our health care today where 28 million people have been cut off Medicaid since the unwinding of the pandemic. That is an atrocity, a sin, and a system that must go. It's a system we don't believe in. It no longer serves our interests as a class. It only serves a very few, while millions suffer. And that's a system we are here to fight against. So we talk about in this organization, in our organizing, in our movement, and each one of the speakers will talk about this. We talk about the plight, what we're up against. Each speaker will talk about one of these rights, but ultimately, our right to health does not exist in this country. Our fight, how each one of these areas of struggle, these fronts of struggle as we call them, are fighting against that system. But our insight is that we are in a stage of development in our movement to end poverty. Our domestic, our national movement to end poverty is that we need leaders. We need clear leaders on the problem, competent leaders to build organization, connected leaders to the struggle, and committed leaders that stick and stay. And we have to unite those leaders across fronts of struggle and across geography and across lines of division, clear, competent leaders, so that we can build a base building, a grassroots movement, so that we can have power. Our power comes from organization. Organization, organization. If you're taking notes tonight and you write anything down, write that down. Our power comes from organization, organization, organization. We use many tactics. That's the fight part. These tactics, if we are not clear on the problem and who we're up against, our tactics are in danger of becoming our strategy. If we're not clear on what the ultimate eyes on the prize fight is. So we must come together. We must fight together, organize together, study together, and unite to fight back. And we do this through organization, organization, organization. So again, I want to say welcome. My name's Kristin. I am one of the leaders of the National Union of the Homeless, one of the national organizers, along with my brothers on the call tonight, Anthony Prince in the west of the country. I'm in the east of the country. And then we have many organizers regionally. We have teams. And one of the last things I want to say is that we have a three-pronged approach to building the homeless union. The first is our legal strategy. Our legal strategy is very important, as you know, and it came out of the history of California with Anthony Prince and the leaders, now over 3,000 leaders working through the courts to fight against the illegal criminalization of homelessness and poverty. We have a clergy council that we're building for a number of historical reasons, in that, one, the scriptures of all these texts that we go to, not just Christian, but across the board, they tend to take our study out of context. And one of them is the poor is always among us. So building to really talk about what is the sacred work of organizing, right? And also that our faith communities are often the ones that are tirelessly answering the call of the needs of their community. And they have direct contact with those that are most affected. And we can build organization through those relationships. And Dr. Reverend Savina Martin out of Boston with a team is working on building that nationally. And the third prong is developing, identifying, developing, and training local leaders, local panning for gold, and building organizing committees and ultimately unions to build the homeless union again across the country. And that is something that we organizers, myself and others, are focusing on every day.